Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimadis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I thought it might be nice this morning if we take a look at text number 3 and the commentary that's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oops. Those of you that want to chant responsibly, let's chant responsibly text 3. I'd like to get like a little bit of an overview of 3, 4, and 5 because we're in that section. So, Gyani Prayasa 10:14-3. Gyani Prayasam Udapasya Namanta Eva. Jivanti Sanmukharitam Bhavadiyavartam Stanestatakshuti Gatam Tanavan Manobhir Ye Prayaso Jitajito Pyasi Traistrilokyam. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths." This is the translation from Chaitanya Charitamrita, in case it differs from the Bhagavatam. And have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths, should hear from the self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter. Somehow that slipped into the translation. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind, they can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable. And to introduce that verse, Ramananda Roy says, Pure devotional service without any touch of speculative knowledge is the essence of perfection. Purport. Madhya Lila, Chapter 8, Text 66. Madhya 8:66. In his Anubhashya commentary, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that this stage, devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge, that's the previous, is also external and not within the jurisdiction of pure devotional service, as practiced in Vaikuntha Loka. As soon as there is some conception of materialistic thought, be it positive or negative, the service is not spiritual. It may be from material contamination, but because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from contamination of material life. A living entity who wants to be completely pure must be above this material conception. The negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. After material existence is negated, spiritual existence, namely Satchidananda, still may not be manifested. Until one comes to the stage of actually understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, he cannot enter into spiritual life. Spiritual life means becoming detached from material life and engaging in the loving service of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore asked Ramananda Roy to explain something transcendental to devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna, who cannot be conquered by anyone. Krishna always stands victorious over everything. No one can conquer him. One can attain the stage of pure devotion simply by fully surrendering. This is next corroborated by Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3, wherein Brahma, defeated by the potency of Sri Krishna, fully surrendered unto the Lord. So we just read the Gyani Prayasa verse. There's no commentary. And the very next verse, Lord Chaitanya says, that's all right. Speak more on this subject. The next subject is ecstatic love for the personality of Godhead as the essence of all perfection. Prema Bhakti. Sarva Sadhya Sar, the essence of perfection. So that's text 3. Now let us together chant text 4, 10.14.4. Let you look it up. 10.14.4. Shreyastratim bhakti mudashyate vibho klishyanti ye kevala bodha labdhaye desham asau kleshala eva shishyate Nanyad stula tushavaghātinam. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve his desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain, one who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only gain is trouble. And here's Jiva Goswami's commentary to text 4. he's now going to summarize the verse and the context. Quote, "It is seen that others, giving up that type of bhakti, practice Gyani, using hearing and contemplation of Upanishads in order to realize the greatness of the Lord. Bhakti produces the best results among all good processes. Bhakti includes all results, such as jnana. In spite of bhakti with sweet topics, some people give up this process and throw it far away, giving it no respect, udasya. Instead, they suffer to attain realization of the self devoid of bhakti. They take great effort to observe yamas and niyamas and go here and there to obtain proper hearing and contemplation of Upanishads. But all they get is suffering. They do not even, or eva, get purification of the heart." Quote, "But by practicing yoga, one can obtain siddhis." That's the next verse, text 5. "Other methods give no results." And then he quotes from Canto 10, Chapter 81. "Svarga pavargayo pungsam rasayam bhuvi sampadam sarvasam api siddhanam mulam touch charanarchanam." Devotional service to the Lord's lotus feet is the root cause of all the perfections a person can find in heaven, in liberation, in the subterranean regions, and on earth. You hit the jackpot when you get bhakti. Everything's there. In the 11th canto, chapter 11, Krishna says to Udava, same thing. "Oh, Udava, the wise do not accept useless scriptures in which there are no descriptions of how I create, maintain, and destroy the universe, and in which there are no descriptions of my auspicious birth as Krishna among all the Leela avatars." So sometimes devotees have a hard time reading the creation descriptions. It's much nicer is the birth pastimes and Vrindavan pastimes and the creation pastimes. The wise, O Udava, the wise do not accept useless scriptures in which there are no descriptions of how I create, maintain, and destroy the universe, and in which there are no descriptions of my auspicious birth as Krishna among all the Leela avatars. And the final little paragraph. A suitable example is given. Fools who beat empty husk become the laughing stock of others. The husk simply becomes finer and gets destroyed. The fools get sore hands. Oh, Lord, everyone should worship you. And Sanatan Goswami, in commenting on text 4, in the previous verse it has been stated that the highest results arise from bhakti. Why should the greatness of bhakti be described as everything? By giving up this bhakti, persons engaged in jnana just suffer greatly. This is what is explained in this verse. Bhakti produces the best results, Shreya Shritim, among all good processes. Shreya Shritim. It includes all results, such as jnana. Now, Gyana arises from bhakti, not the other way. Right? Canto 1, Chapter 2. In spite of bhakti, with its sweet topics, some people give up this process and throw it far away, giving it no respect, udasya. But they suffer. To attain realization of the self devoid of bhakti, they take great effort to observe yamas and niyamas in order to attain understanding of the pure Atma. Kevala bodha labdhaye. They make efforts in order to attain understanding of Atma, or bodha, unmixed with bhakti. Unmixed with bhakti. Gyan unmixed with bhakti. Kevala. All they attain is suffering. Svarga and purification of the heart are excluded as results. Eva. Question. But by practicing yoga, one can obtain wealth and position. No. Other methods give no result. Na anyat. A suitable example is given. Fools who beat empty husk become the laughing stock of others. The husk simply becomes finer and gets destroyed. Same. The fool gets sore hands. Oh Lord, everyone should worship you. They even fall to hell. Quoting Canto 11, Chapter 5. If any of the members of the 4 varnas and 4 ashrams fail to worship the Lord and thus disrespect the Lord, who is the source of their own creation, they will fall down from their ashram. And really short from Jiva Goswami, Krama Sandarbha. O Lord, if fools give up bhakti, the all-inclusive path, and suffer to attain realization of Atma without bhakti, they simply attain suffering and nothing else. They are like fools who beat empty husks. Paragraph. It is seen that some persons give up bhakti and endeavor for Gyan. So that's the end of text 4. Now text 5. So we're doing a little quick. 3, 4. Now here's 5. Bhakti is best. Don't give up. Give up Gyan. And those that give up bhakti and take Gyan, they don't get self-realization. They certainly don't get the fruits of bhakti. And you take up bhakti and you get the fruits of everything. Now here's yoga. How to perfect yoga. Meaning the Ashtanga Yoga system. O Almighty Lord, in the past, many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service by offering all their endeavors unto you and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. Through such devotional service, perfected by the processes of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O Infallible One, and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. So that's nice. Previously he said, no one can understand you, and now he's giving the formula of how to understand him. At least one of the paths. But so the path to understand is the dedication to hearing the topics of Krishna. Topics, meaning, name, form, qualities, pastimes. About the whole, Krishna tattva. It brings one to the supreme abode. It brings attachment to Krishna, which means detachment from matter. At least the potency is there for both. And then attachment to Krishna takes you to Krishna. No BBT purport. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, text 5. In the previous two verses, bhakti is established as the means of attaining the Lord by negation and positive statement. In the present verse, the activities of bhakti are established. Quote, O Lord, Bhuman, in this universe, Iha, there are many who practice bhakti, yoginaha, and they offer their activities to you using all their senses to increase their devotion, being fully engrossed in bhakti with faith, and disregarding varnashram, they engage in hearing and chanting. Nija karma labdhaya. Only about you, by the prema bhakti which arises from hearing and chanting, kato panitaya, they realize the Lord's form, qualities, and activities, and attain eternal association of the Lord in prema. Unquote. That's kind of a summary of what's being said, expressed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The concluding paragraph. This verse can also be taken as a rejection of the yoga process after having rejected jnana in the previous verses. Quote, after practicing yoga for a long time and understanding its futility, O Lord, the yogis understand you through devotion mixed with jnana, attained through offering you his activities, and attain you. Unquote. Jiva Goswami, and we'll end with this. This process is not just words, but was practiced and realized by many in the past. Sridhar Swami explained that they offered their prescribed karmas to the Lord and their individual actions as well. Tavad arpi teha. And he quotes, Jiva Goswami quotes 128 Bhagavatam. Dharmaksanustatak pungsam vishvaksena katasuya notpadayad yadiratim shama eva hi kevalam. He translates it, Varnashram Dharma of the human being, which does not produce attraction for topics of the Lord, is only wasted effort. Contrastingly, by having a taste of your topics, they attained nearness to you. By developing taste for those topics, one can realize you. That's the same as, this is expanding the same message as above. Tanavan manobir, being attached, jiveta, is one's whole life to the topics, and you do duties, but at the heart, at the essence of the moving force of life is attachment to the topics of the personality. Godhead brings nearness to Krishna and a taste for Krishna's topics, attachment to Krishna, and going to Krishna. He then quotes 3:25:25, another famous verse. Satam prasangan mama virya samvidho bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata tajjoshanad ashvapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. Translation. From association with the best devotees, topics of my glorious pastime become directly realized, bringing the devotee to nishtha. Then the topics become an elixir for the heart and ears at the stage of ruchi. By taste for these topics, asakti bhava, and then prema for the Lord, who is the destroyer of material life, quickly develop in sequence. So focus once again on the topics in the right association. And another quote is from Canto 11, Chapter 2. This is, "The devotee who worships the lotus feet of the infallible Lord with constant endeavor achieves unflinching devotion, detachment, and experience of the Lord. He achieves supreme happiness." This is, I believe it's Maharaj Parikshit being spoken to by Shukadeva Goswami in the context of Narada's visit to Dwarka. That's what I think it is. Paragraph. "With an increase in prema, the person then attains, with surrender, prapedire, an intimate relationship with you, param gatim. O Lord, with unlimited glories, Bhuman. This is a suitable result for bhakti dedicated to you, O Lord. You do not fail to give the desired results by performance of bhakti, O Achyuta." Then last is a reference from Skanda Purana. Quote, "My devotees do not perish, even at the time of universal destruction. The Lord alone is indestructible and all-pervading in all planets." Doesn't say who the speaker is. Skanda Purana. As mentioned, this is Brahma speaking, directly standing before Krishna in his childhood form, offering prayers to him, illuminating us because we're hearing his words, but he's speaking directly to Krishna. Krishna doesn't need illumination, but it's appropriate praise of the Lord of his life. And is giving the process as well, how we can achieve the highest goal. That highest goal is attachment to Krishna, this asakti, or attaining Krishna through attachment to Krishna, while we're living in the world doing our duties. So it doesn't require abandoning our duties and going somewhere and doing something austere and studying the Vedas assiduously and all those things, which is nice, but that's not the formula. The formula is prescribed duties made whole or complete or perfect by the consciousness of attachment to the topics about Krishna. So the contrasting position is the Gyani. They may also hear and chant, but they're hearing and chanting the Upanishads are not something that describes his form or the sweetness of his pastimes. It's just describing the nature of Brahman, and so they don't get to fully realize the self because the self is not separate from the Supreme Self. They don't get that realization. And then the yogis, who are generally interested in mystic powers and otherwise control of the mind and senses and becoming peaceful, they can make their life perfect by the same process, hearing and chanting of his glories. So the focus is, once again, it's on the bhakti process, meaning starting with hearing and chanting of the topics of Krishna. Of course, that's the whole of the Bhagavad process, so naturally it's in Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavad Dharma process, and starts with hearing Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. By that process, some eligibility comes to us. The eligibility of attachment and detachment. Attachment is natural. We're going to be attached to something. So becoming attached to this original feature of Krishna. And that leads to detachment from other things. But one has to be willing to let go of not let go of things, but let go of the attachment, the material attachment to things, including attachment to the Gyani process, not just objects or activities. It's attachment to Krishna topics, because, one more time, attachment to Krishna topics results in attachment to Krishna. And that means if you're attached to someone or something, you think of that someone or something. Supposing somebody's an addict, they think of that something. Or supposing somebody's a miser, they think of money. Supposing they're attached to something. Some teenagers are attached to video games, and they can't think of anything else. I know one family is really struggling with that. Their teenagers bottoming out because it's addictive. The dopamine's got them, and the parents don't know what to do. So we're going to be attached to something, and the practice of becoming attached to Krishna is the natural result if one hears carefully from proper sources, and the door to transcendence opens, and that which otherwise can't be understood can be understood, and so forth. Krishna, he who can't be controlled can become controlled. So it's not like we want to control Krishna. We want to be in Krishna's association, and that kind of attachment for him and love for him results in exactly how it's said at the very, very beginning, the first verse. Krishna appears to simply fulfill the desires of his devotees, including Brahma. Brahma's not in this exalted Braja Bhakti mood, but he fulfilled the desires of Brahma, as he does consistently. The desires of Narada, the desires of his devotees that don't have that Braja Prem. So it's not like Krishna will ignore you because you're not a Brajvasi. Krishna will reciprocate. And then you have to be a little discriminating and a little vigilant, a little introspective about where the capacity of desire, free will, where it goes. You make choices, and it can go here and there, and Krishna reciprocates, particularly with his devotees, but even with others. So dearest to him are those devotees who are attached to him in this very special mood. Lord Chaitanya's gift is to direct our free will, our desires, towards attaining that stage. Brahma is saying it from the very beginning. It is giving us here the means, excluding some other mixed means. It's the exclusive means. He's encouraging us, but he's speaking to Krishna in these ways. Okay, so it's 5 after 8. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. There are two thoughts going on. This message from Chaitanya Charitamrita, 866 that you read. Negation of material existence does not mean the spiritual existence. Oftentimes I find because I have these desires or I have these kind of things, I just have to be out of them. It's like just negate. I don't want them to do anything with that. But it's interesting to see, or probably it's going a little deeper into the heart. be it positive or negative, as long as there is some conception of material thought, it's not spiritual existence. Could you please share a little more light on it?
I agree. Another way, it's just you're inviting me to say the same thing in some other way. So I'll say the same thing in another way. Prabhupada speaks of spiritual life as being like a razor, like a razor's edge. It can do something very wonderful. It can also cut. So he uses the example of inattention. Using a razor, if you're inattentive, you can cut instead of shave. So we need to be attentive when engaging in bhakti, not just engaging in bhakti, the behavior, the activity, whatever, ringing a bell and waving some incense, or putting your hand in your bead bag and making some sound. So it's not just the behavior, the doing bhakti, it's the vigilance, the attentiveness. And then what's the purpose behind that attentiveness? Is it a liberation attentiveness, or is it swarga attainment? I want to prosper attainment. We have to be vigilant. Or conscious. And that's another way of saying the same thing. It takes time. It takes time to develop such a strong desire that even nearly pure we're feeling is deficient because it's not fully pure. And then there's this humility that says, oh, I'm still struggling. And then there's the bhakti that says, Krishna will help me. And so that's the purification process of the discomfort being in a place where we're not where we want to be yet, but we're trying to get there. There's discomfort, and then there's a way to move through the discomfort, not with the idea that now I'm comfortable, I finally made it. But there's always striving, and that's part of the bhakti process.
Just thinking about Varnashrama Dharma, Guru Maharaj, we hear living in mode of goodness or Varnashrama Dharma, all these things. We hear that they may assist us as we are hearing.
Could you turn the volume up, or could you speak louder, one or the other?
So we are hearing bhakti is the only means, and that's the only way we can attain the goal, whatever. Achieving Krishna or controlling Krishna, getting that association. While we are understanding that is the principle, is it like the details, like whatever helps one to attain that, we can try to practice?
Your voice trailed off at the end.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I think I'm just still thinking about it.
You want to understand the connection between Varnashram and Shuddha Bhakti. Is that your question?
Kind of. Because we keep hearing it helps. So I guess my question is it that all those things come from bhakti, or when one is practicing those that can help one to deepen it? I'm sorry.
Well, they're both. Those are two contrasting statements. They're not. If it's this one, it's not that one. If it's that one, it's not this one. It's not that kind of thing. Everything comes from Krishna. The way to connect with Krishna is through bhakti, and so one can say both things. It's not the essence, but we don't neglect it either. Well, it's not the essence. Just there it goes into the garbage can. No. I mean, the verse that we just read, specifically text 5, the one who follows the system, Varnashram system, can achieve and the yoga system connected with the varnashram system can achieve perfection. It helps. But let's just say somebody doesn't follow varnashram at all. Or if they just chant Hare Krishna. They're going to have to come to the stage of following varnashram, not just chant Hare Krishna and do any, foolish thing or any abominable thing. They'll bring them to the stage where it's connected to, their life is connected to theistic conduct. Okay?
Bhakti is inclusive and it can bring whatever.
Bhakti is what?
Can we understand that bhakti is inclusive and it can bring
And bhakti is included?
inclusive?
Inclusive.
Whatever we need, it can help us to come to that state.
That's the second option of the two options, and you're repeating the question. So, yeah, we accept that which is favorable and reject unfavorable. So you bring in that which is favorable. That's part of bhakti. That's part of surrender. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, I want to understand how to approach these prayers when I'm reading, because
When you're doing what?
when I'm reading on my own, because when
When you're reading on your own?
yeah,
Okay.
because when you're explaining it, it sounds sweet, it makes sense, but I have tendency when I'm reading it to kind of go
Okay.
over them quickly or skip over them. So if you can, I was just understanding at my stage how to approach reading these prayers.
Well, there's this nice statement that says, I forget where I came across it, but a bird can only fly according to his capacity that his wings can carry him. And that's how you have your capacity. So that's what you do, according to your capacity. And with faith, you can know for sure that capacity will gradually expand. It's up to Krishna how capacity expands and what rate and how maybe you get wings that allow you to fly higher. But the main thing is your relationship with Krishna. And you'll understand whatever your relationship with Krishna permits you to understand. That's how you go about it. With faith. The goal is not just let me get higher and higher and higher, let me understand more and more and more. The goal is a relationship with Krishna and that sense of connectivity or connection according to capacity. Someone with greater capacity is going to understand a whole lot more. Someone with a lesser capacity is going to understand a whole lot less. Your capacity is whatever your capacity is, you'll understand accordingly. With faith, the bhakti essence is, let me connect with Krishna. And the potency is there. With faith, I'm hearing, with the faith that the presence of Krishna is there in this sound vibration. And on the one hand, the cleansing, on the other hand, the awakening is going on. How, my understanding of how that's happening it'll become clearer in course of time, but it's happening. I have that faith, and I have, over a period of time, I have that experience. There may be ups and downs, but over a period of time. Where you are today is not where you were when you started bhakti process. There's some of both, the cleansing and the elevation. And just stay with it. With faith. That's what you do. That's how you approach when you're reading on your own. And whatever you can do, you can share with others. I mean, whatever understanding you have, you share with others. That strengthens your retention or memory. The heart, the feelings in the heart is by sharing and explaining. Just like we're doing when we're having classes. And it's gradual. Gradual is wonderful. If it was abrupt, it would be like, whoa. What happened here? I'm upside down. That's gradual. That's just fine. Gradual is just fine. And you often express with humility, I'm way down here. That's okay. No one's judging you. Oh, she's way down there. Your relationship with Krishna is precious. And you nourish that in the association of others. That's how. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is, this thought is there always while I try to follow the rules and regulations of bhakti process. There is always a mix of the impersonal tendencies. Maybe,
Impersonal.
Yeah, maybe fruitive tendencies are.
Fruitive and impersonal.
I feel impersonal. I don't know, because the reason I'm saying that I don't have the strong desire to get out of this material world, a strong desire to associate the Lord. That is, maybe it's not there in forefront of my activities. Is what needs to be done, or is something not right what I'm trying to do?
Well, there's the negative and there's the positive. The definition, in response to your question, the definition of bhakti has both. Anyabhilasha Shunyam Gyana Karmadya Navritam. That's the negation. And then the positive. So it's not, a 0 or a 10. It's not, I'm going to take a quantum leap and become a pure devotee. It's a gradual process of the cleansing, the negation, specifically in those two areas that you mentioned, because the goal of speculation is impersonal. And one of the ways that someone was sharing this with me the other day, their coping mechanism is impersonal. So they don't have to experience unpleasant feelings about things, about relationships, about the world, about things, that's going on around them and distant from them, and people. This, impersonal is a coping, this was their term, a coping mechanism, just kind of get numb. Don't have to deal with it. So just take shelter of that. Because you get personal, then you get these feelings that you have to process. So it gets exhausting. So the negation over here, and it's the positive is the most important part. That's the Swarup Lakshana, the others are Tatastha Lakshana. You know the meaning. So you focus on putting the cart before the heart, the horse before the cart, and the horse will pull the cart. You have to be attentive to the negation part. Here's a tendency, and I'm stuck. Or I'm not moving very quickly because of this tendency, that tendency. So on the strength of the positive, you dismiss the negative. But all the while, I'm going to take shelter. I take shelter. This is something I believe in. It's something we're doing right now. Take shelter at the topics of the personality of God. I place faith in that. And it's transforming. It's my experience, and it's my experience in the lives of those who engage in such a process. It may take a while, depending on the hooks that are over there and the fruitive and the speculative tendencies, and the doing the activity without the real spirit of Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Without that spirit, it's just like, mechanical. But the one who wants to go beyond mechanical can go beyond mechanical. So that's what you just follow the bhakti process as Rupa Goswami has defined it, in short. And be patient and enthusiastic at the same time. I mean, Rupa Goswami's got it. He's our teacher. We just follow him in good association. Same as with her. Where you were some time ago and where you are today, it's a very different position. And so it's working. And there's ups and downs, but the process is working. So stay with it. Good association, faithfully here, and let go of those other tendencies. By introspection, here's this tendency again, and you set it aside. Gyane prayasa udapasya. And same with fruitive tendency. Gradually, in favor of the positive, with faith. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This question is after Ambedkari Mataji's question regarding this Varnashram Dharma. So how does one understand?
How does
one understand that which Varna he belonged to?
Oh.
Like, because previously it used to be Brahman's son is Brahman and Shudra's son is Shudra and continues. But nowadays everything is
all mixed up.
All mixed up. At what stage of life one like maturity comes later on, like after, like I didn't know when I chose my profession. So it comes later on. So how do we know and who can guide that case?
That's a nice question. My experience with people, young people who are in the position of choosing profession, they don't want guidance. They want to do what they want to do. So to get guidance requires somebody that wants guidance. And once we're strapped into a profession, it's hard to change a profession because you're strapped in. You have so many years and, you're up to here. I've watched somebody changing profession because it didn't match their nature. It was very difficult. Emotionally, time, very disorienting. And I know another, I won't mention names, but I know somebody else that attended the Bhaktivedanta Academy in Mayapur, where they have a really firm policy about seeing the nature of the boys and deciding this is their nature, that's their nature. And one devotee he and his brother were totally mismatched about what their nature was. So nature comes out. So now I'm responding to I'm trying to respond to your question. Guidance is one thing, but Scripture can tell you become familiar with Scripture, and you look at what your tendencies are, And that tells you a lot about what your nature is. Through the lens of Scripture, these are tendencies. Like explaining it to teenagers, one of the things that I've said, because they like to decide what they want to do. What is it? Two things. When you have discretionary time, what do you like to do? Hopefully it's wholesome instead of the other kind. But when you're in this positive mood and you're thinking about building your future, what really energizes you? It can just be sports, or it can be boys and girls, or But if they're a bit more thoughtful, when you do something, you feel inspired. It gives you energy. You're not feeling depleted. What's that? So another way of saying that their language is find your voice. That's a phrase these days. Maybe they passed that now. You've got some other message, but like, who are you? What's your nature? And so it requires introspection. If somebody wants guidance, fine. And the guidance would come in the same manner. In the Gurukul system, you can read carefully the purport of Canto 1, Chapter 9, Bhishma Dev's instruction about education of young people. It's there. So the qualification of a teacher, good teacher, so they live with their students. So they know their nature because they live with them. So there's two main things. One, character. Second, tendency towards varna. And then they'll train this one this way and that one that way, depending upon varna. So character, tendencies, and then comes the ashram consideration. But, it's tendencies. So if they have a really, really strong tendency, a good teacher may send that student to another teacher that can teach them in this tendency, that tendency. That happened with Drona and Kripa. They went to the same school, and then they were transferred to another teacher because of tendency, right? So, if someone wants guidance, it's available by the same method. Seeing the nature of someone let's say, being empowered by Krishna to see the nature of someone, and have looking through the lens of Scripture, not micromanaging somebody's life, just supporting their nature. That has to do with parenting. You see the nature of the child, and this child is like this, and that child likes that. You build character for all children. Same. Not just that you want them to become, moneyed, so you push them towards that which is going to get the money. And, a lot of the young married people today went through that with their parents. They push them towards what's going to make money. Because, it's good intention from the parents' side. They wanted to not have to struggle. So go for money. And there's good money in this field, that field, without really what's the nature of my child. So that's not necessarily good parenting. And then how do you understand your varna? Introspection, Scripture, good counselor, someone that's detached and wise and can understand when you feel that you are understood and there's somebody very close to you that really knows, and they're wise and they're not attached. That's how you find out. But in many cases, it's too late because you're strapped in. You can't go back and take the strap off. They have financial responsibilities for family and this and that, and So you just endure it. Maybe, in some cases, make incremental changes towards something. Little baby steps towards something. But that's about it.
This question is from Taruni Radha Mataji. She has two questions. The first one is, Prahlad Maharaj states that by following any one of the 9 processes of devotional service, starting from Shravanam will lead to one's perfection in spiritual life. While in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gauranga Mahaprabhu states, especially for Grihasthas, that they need to chant and also engage in Vaishnava Seva. Is this because by such service, one's constitutional position as servant gets reinforced and also it humbles one and attracts mercy?
Yes, especially the last one. Krishna is pleased when he sees his devotees being served, and you get Krishna's pleasure, and you've got a big asset in life. Yes.
The second question is, how does Lord Brahma offer such heartfelt prayers of repentance and acceptance to Krishna when he is actually used by the Leela Shakti of the Lord for unfolding of the pastime? Brahma is playing a part, but he actually believes that he is responsible for his act.
Of course. And so do each of us. Elevated souls are not exempt from that sensibility. It's not that sensibility is only for rookies or neophytes.
The next question is from Sri Kishore Prabhu from here. Is there a relationship between the Gyani described by Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan, and Artho Artharthi Jignashu Gyani? There Krishna says that these Gyanis attain Krishna or on the path of attaining him sooner or later. But here Brahma refers to Gyanis and says that they can never attain Krishna. How to understand this?
When you're reading scripture, be careful not to put things in a box and close the lid. Okay, I got an understanding from Bhagavad-Gita, lid closed. Now I'm reading the Bhagavatam and it says something else. So be careful. This is, I'm not answering your question yet, but be careful when you read to be conceptually flexible and understand language used here may not be identical with same words used over there and so forth. If one stays, so the answer is, if you say stuck in the speculative tendency, you won't attain Krishna. But one who is approaching Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita reference, they require that the association of devotees and take up the path of bhakti along with their path of Gyani and eventually become full-fledged bhaktas, and then you can attain Krishna. That's my answer.
So this question is from Radha. As devotees, are we supposed to be attached to studies, and how can we offer the results of it to Krishna? Is studying a devotional service?
Studying, like anything else, isn't necessarily devotional or non-devotional. Taking prasadam is not necessarily devotional or non-devotional. It's devotional just because it's prasadam, but one can be gluttonous and it's not so healthy. So Studying similarly, anything. You're playing violin, can be devotional or non-devotional. And anything else. So it's the consciousness behind. So how can studying be a service to Krishna? Well, that's a very good question. And you should try to get a clear answer, because so many hours and years of your life is going to be devoted to studying. How can you spiritualize the studying, or not just let it become some material thing along with your spiritual life? It's just this material appendage over there. It's a good question. Think in the bigger picture of life. The bigger picture of life is little Radha is one day going to be a young adult. And as a young adult, you're going to need tools how to navigate in the world such that you can be of useful service to Krishna. And I'm doing things today that are going to help me achieve that bigger picture later. Not just, get good scores in the exams you take and then get a pat on the back, or maybe a certificate or something, a trophy or something. That's the material. And competing against others and doing better than others, that's material. It's tools that you can use, facilities or resources or, capacities to be used in Krishna's service. That matches your nature. So I'll use myself as an example. I don't have a career. I mean, the material, I don't go to an office and do stuff like that. But what I learned in college is, I don't exactly remember all that organic chemistry and yada, yada, yada. I don't remember all that. But there are skills of intellectual skills that I'm using today. That the education process helped me to be able to do what I'm doing today. Now, if I didn't do that, I could still serve Krishna in some other way, no problem. But to be an equipped servant of Krishna as a young adult, or for your whole life, you're developing skills that can be used in Krishna's service, whatever that's going to look like. Whatever that's going to look like. Which right now, you don't have a clue. And probably the rest of us don't have a clue either, what it's going to look like. But there's skills that you're developing through the process of study that's going to help you live a meaningful, useful to Krishna's service life, whatever dimensions that's going to take. Being in the working force, and being a mother, and being a member of a community, and living an adult life someday, your study will help you achieve those things in Krishna service.
This question is from Snehavalli Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In verse 4, it shows the futility of Gyana process. I'm thinking of the verse in Bhagavad-Gita chapter 12, verses 3 and 4. Krishna says that Gyanis, even though they follow the process of Gyana, they are transcendentalists. And they will at last achieve him, even though the path is troublesome. Jiva Goswami, in his commentary to verse 4, says that Gyani's efforts are fruitless.
Gyana what?
Gyani's efforts are fruitless.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's what Mataji has written. I don't know if it's a clarification or a question.
It sounds like a question. It's what she cited as commentary on 12.4 Bhagavad-Gita is very similar to what's being said here in the Bhagavatam. However, that Gyan process can become spiritualized through association with devotees who then bhakti-eyes the consciousness and can gradually become elevated and eventually become perfect. But it's not, the Gyan process alone isn't going to achieve that. It will be fruitless, absolutely fruitless. But connected with bhakti to some degree, then there can be some elevation and come closer to the goal. And eventually, through purification and association, etc., one can reach the goal.
This question is from Radha again. Can we just ignore the fact that we made a mistake, thinking that it's Krishna's Leela Shakti?
No. No. Even, Nanda Maharaj doesn't do that. Oh, I went away and Krishna had all this trouble, and he doesn't say, oh, Leela Shakti. Okay. Prabhupada ki jai.